Hello and welcome back to RP1. In today's episode, we are going to be continuing on with the X-Plane program, and we are going to attempt to take a jet to Mach 2 speeds. And this time we're going to have to build our jet from scratch. So for anybody who's been waiting to see the full process of building a plane, today is the episode for that. So let's get started. So first off, we're going to check on our queue. The only two things we have is a reconditioning of the launch pad and the research for high-speed flight. I was doing orbital missions, or not missions, but I was doing orbital builds and things like that alongside. So you're going to see some things in the queue that will come and go, and we'll be looking at those in more detail in the next episode. So here we're going to start off by looking at the R&D section, and we're going to see if there's anything, basically what's coming up next. We don't have enough science to unlock anything, but it's important to know the parts that we're going to get for the high-speed flight, because then we'll know what to look for and what to build from in the spaceplane hangar. So I'm looking at this turbojet, and that's probably what I'm going to be basing my plane design on. There's some upgrades to things, that's nice, but I want to use a new engine entirely. I want to use an engine that's meant for high-speed flight. I'm taking a quick look to see what it would take to upgrade the research and development station. I don't think there's a lock on how far we can research like there is in stock KSP. I do know that you can hire more researchers at that point, but I'm not sure that I'm ready to do that just yet. Let's come here in missions, and let's go ahead and pick up the next in the X-Plane contract for Mach 2 supersonic. We have to hold between 625 and 650 meters per second for about 5 minutes, and then return home safely. Should be easy enough, but let's go ahead and build a plane that will work it. We are going to warp to sunrise just because that makes when I simulate these tests, I don't have to time warp in the simulation. I can just fly during the daylight. So I'm going to be doing a lot of test flights for this. For this entire program, to launch, to create jets that fly in any sort of capacity with fair air research, you have to do a lot of testing. But okay, so here we are in the spaceplane hangar, and we are going to start off with the wrong cockpit. I just wanted to see how big this B-52 is, and no way we're going to do that. But we're going to use the jet trainer cockpit, which is the same cockpit that we did in the previous jet plane that we had. However, the previous jet plane we had was pre-built and came with stock RP1. I mean, that's whatever you could call stock. Just, it came with RP1, and so we used it in the previous episode. But I didn't feel great about using it. It wasn't my plane. It wasn't my design. The aerodynamics of it were already predetermined to work out, and all I did is kind of adjust it, slap some paint on it, and called it a day. So that's why I wanted to make sure that the next plane that I did would be my own. And it's nothing too fancy. It's just going to be a long body with some wings on it. The design of plane, or basically how I go about building a plane, I owe a lot of credit to Calvin McClure. A lot of his videos detailing how to make planes in RP1 was pivotal in my knowledge of this. But as time goes on, I start to get better and better at things. As it stands currently, I am still working on the X-Plane project, but much farther down the road on it. And I've been getting better at building planes designed to do what I want them to do. And that's always a better sign, is when you can replicate your work and expand upon it to fit your needs. That's a sign of learning, and so I like that. But here I'm doing some minor coloring right now, just because I want to differentiate between the pieces. This is going to be in the Goldwing family, so of course it's going to get the white and gold color palette. Okay, so that's all I really need to do for that. And so now we're going to start working on the wing structure. And I like to build this kind of track to hold the wings. So these themselves aren't the wings. These are just going to be the platform, basically. So I make this nice long rail to which we're going to attach it. And I duplicate that and put it on top in a singular fashion. And I try to line it up with the center of the craft. I can duplicate it again, but these ones go on the side of that top rail, and this is going to hold the tail fins, the horizontal tail fins. And this is kind of, I wish I spent a little bit more time on the precision of where everything's lined up. This is a little crude in its placement, but like I could have just made it a little bit nicer. I do eventually make it a little bit nicer on a different version of the plane. I spend more time, because when it comes to plane design in RP1, honestly, there's no such thing as too much time spent on craft design or wing design or elevation design. All of it makes for a better flight. So I have all 3 tail fins on there, all the shape that I want. This nice kind of swept back, very speedy looking thing. And those are, the entire surface itself is movable, so we don't need control surfaces because they are the control surface. But for the wings, we are going to do that. So first we're going to take the edge on the back and make it flat, and then we're going to give it that swept back look as well. This is supposed to go fast, and so we don't need to worry about making large turns or anything like that, and especially not at high speeds. You know, we might have to do some banking when it comes to landing, but all these wings really need to do is keep us level. So I'm going to go ahead and bring down the thickness of the tip on that railing to match the width of the wing. I bring up the center of lift and center of mass just to keep an eye on it. But for now, I'm going to be working on the elevatrons. I feel like I'm missaying that, and I also am not sure if that's specifically what I'm working on. I've just been kind of defaulting to saying control surfaces, but it's a mouthful sometimes. So if I'm saying the wrong thing, please let me know in the comments, and I'll be better about that. So anyways, these are the adjusting wings and adjusting control surfaces are always the most interesting part to me in watching plane videos, because every plane, every one of those is so unique and different to the plane. They're all individually tailored, and it's fun to see how it all comes together and how the shape is made. From what I've learned in my tests, having a minimal amount of space in between the control surfaces provides less drag, so you can get a little more speed out of it. Here I'm trying to adjust the side. I want to keep the swept back shape of the wing, So that's why I have them kind of angled in that way. Now it's time to put the little end cap on the wing. Not necessarily necessary, but I've also found that the wingtip causes a lot of drag as well, and by having something stable like this, the control surface part area of the wingtip causes the drag. So by having this kind of end cap on it, that reduces the drag at that area and lets the wind fly over a little more. This isn't my best end cap. I've done better later, and so this episode I would take as like a crude episode on kind of how I build planes and everything, but I do end up getting better at it later on, so that'll come soon. Yeah, see, as you can see, there's a lot of room for improvement. I could straighten things out and get the right width on other parts. But all in all, I was pretty proud of this. And in the test flights, it did perform quite well. So obviously I did something right. And put some air brakes on there, helps for landing. Now I'm going to adjust the wings upwards to kind of better align our center of lift and mass. And now as I play around with the utilization, I see that the center of mass will shift forward in flight as the tank empties, which is exactly what we want. And that will keep the plane level and balanced the whole time. And since we're not taking off from the runway, we're only landing, we can have the landing gear spread a little wider on the wings. That will help stabilize as we come down. It's not always the best idea on planes that you plan on ascending from the runway, because it makes taking off a little more difficult. Wheel placement in and of itself is a whole other tutorial. I mean, it's not a tutorial, but there's a lot that could be said that I'm not really confident in explaining right now. I still only have a minor grasp of it, but this series isn't meant to be a tutorial. It's just kind of like, how I'm going through my playthrough. So I might not do things completely correct. There might be better ways of doing it, but to any of you who are learning RP1 and watching me alongside that, I do appreciate that, and I hope to shed whatever kind of knowledge I can, and hope we can all help each other get better. So I'm doing some preliminary paint job work, make my craft fly 10% better, but I'm going to have to end up doing this again because I accidentally pick up the wings, and it destroys all my hard work. So we got the gold wings going, looking nice. The cockpit's not an exact white, so it's not great. But by adding the color, I can better see where certain areas could use improvement, like the leading edge on this, and I can straighten up that. So color does help in the design aspect as well. But there it is. I accidentally clicked the wings, and then rather than trying to put them back on and align it, I just decided to get rid of them and hit Control Z, which unfortunately got rid of my paint job. But we're just, paint job is nice and easy. We can replicate that pretty soon. But let's go ahead and do a test flight first. And the test flight went quite well, so I'm very happy with this. So let's go ahead and give it its paint job, and we'll finalize our designs. So as I was saying before, the cockpit and the air intake aren't exactly white. They're not this bright white that I'm doing the wings, but nonetheless, it still looks good. This time we decided to give a little bit more white surface to the wing, and so instead of making the entire control surface gold, we're just going to make the tips of him. And we're going to mirror or invert the color on the tail fins, so the center is going to be gold and the tips are going to be white, but the top tail fin we're going to keep like the wings. And now we also are going to paint the rails because they are just standard silver, but we want them to be white to fit in with the rest of the body. And so now in order to build this, I'm going to need to unlock high-speed flight because of the nose cone and the engine upgrade that we're using for this. So we're going to just replace it with a different nose cone so we can get it into the build queue a little faster. However, I didn't need to use a nose cone. I could have just left the nose cone off, and by substituting it there, it actually just added some more costs, because I don't know if I'm going to ever use that nose cone. I also had to switch back to the regular configuration of the engine in order to get it through and to have it start building. Alright, but now that we have a jet plane that can satisfy our mission, let's go ahead and get our pilots trained in both the proficiency of the cockpit and the proficiency of the mission. Get them trained in the mission. And we're going to train both of them because not only are we going to be able to complete the contract, but we're going to be able to do some science at it. And we're not going to be able to get all the science all at once, so we're going to have to run multiple flights. So might as well get Sebastian Hahn trained as well. I do, however, not do this in the most efficient way possible. I am doing this a little early, training them, so unfortunately that was, it's still a learning process as far as training pilots and things. I'm sure I'll get a hang of it when we start doing crewed missions to space. Alright, so everyone is trained. The next up is the creation of the plane, and then we're going to unlock high-speed flight, so then we can edit the plane to match what we want design-wise. Okay, so we just finished up with high-speed flight, which means that we can go into our crafts and edit. As you see here, we have two rockets ready to be created for our next orbital contract. So let's go ahead and edit this plane. We're going to take off the nose cone and put the high-speed nose cone that we wanted, that we tested the plane with. That's more importantly than what we wanted. Is this is what we tested it with, and this is what we've proved that works, as well as the upgrade. But I didn't realize I had the option of either, so I'm weighing the options of both, and I'm going to, of course, choose the most advanced version. Take another look around. I want to make sure that my center of mass and center of lift is still balanced, but I also want to utilize that which we can. But I also don't need that much fuel. Like, we're not going to be flying for that long. We don't need to have all that fuel on there, and that's just extra cost and time and weight. And this whole mission is about going fast as possible, so having extra weight is no good. So the jet plane goes back into the hangar to be built with all the edits on it, so that's going to be more time. So as you see, I trained my pilots way too soon. So here's our missions that we have for the scientific satellite, the solar power satellite. We still have to do those. And here's the X-plane Mach 2 supersonic. And as I mentioned before, we're doing a little jumping around, and as you can see here, the two orbital 3s have been replaced with something called the Dawnbreaker, and this is just the launch complex being made, and we will see more of that in the next episode. But just to kind of point out that when it comes to RP1, there's a lot of balancing and multitasking going on, so just wanted to show you that during this time while we were working on all this jet plane stuff, we were also working on orbital stuff. And I'm actually very excited to show you this next episode. We did something pretty cool, and the Dawnbreaker is just such a great craft, and I can't wait to show you. So now that the jet plane is done, we're training both the pilots in the mission, and we are going to warp to its completion. Not to their completion, but we're going to warp forward and then mount the jet plane onto the air launch vehicle. And warp to that completion. So now it's ready to launch, but it is the middle of the night, and I don't want to do a night flight. I want to be able to see the runway as clearly as possible. So once again, timing, not my forte when it comes to pilots and their planes. And at the last moment, I realized I might not have the science experiment on board, so I have to pull off the airplane, bring it back into the hangar, and configure the experiments in the cockpit. So we go over here to configure crew science, and that brings up the pop-up. Come here and select the experiment we need. And that doesn't take very much time, but it still will have to roll back, add the experiment, and then roll it forward again. So just extra time being wasted. So let's go ahead and prep it for air launch. And then warp to sunrise so that way we can see. I'm very excited for this mission. This new jet was actually a lot of fun to fly, and so yeah. I also have my joystick, which is a huge blast to play. I have, however, been running into some issues with this. For some reason, it likes to forget its presets, and I have to readjust them in flight. It's not pleasant. So here are the stats. It was about 650 kilometers away from the KSC was the sweet spot that I tested, so that's what we're going to use. Starts us off at the runway, so we have a quick amount of time to put on our autopilot and try to get our joystick set up. We're not going to really need the joystick until it comes to the landing aspect. But I like to get it done early. So we kick on our throttle, start our engine. And this is atmospheric autopilot, the advanced fly-by-wire mod that controls the joystick controls. You can also use a controller, like an Xbox controller or whatnot. Let's get our waypoint up so we know where the KSC is. Not necessarily important now, but we will want to know that eventually. So I'm now on the cruise flight mode, and so we have our altitude set, and the plane is just automatically climbing to it. And once we hit our altitude, we can kind of start leveling off a little bit. We kick on our speed control, and that's going to be an important part of this contract because we have to keep within the speed limit, so between 625 and 650 meters per second. So we're at 626 now, officially going Mach 2. we're leveling off close to 1,500 meters. Alright, so we got the Mach 2 flight science running, and our contract are within the parameters, and so now we just have to hold this for 5 minutes. Pretty easy when you have atmospheric autopilot, excuse me. I didn't necessarily need to bring both pilots. It's a little risky to bring both pilots because if something happens and you know, Kerbal forbid that we kill one of them, in this instance we'll end up killing both of them. So we gotta be careful. And like that, our contract is complete. So we can safely come back home. We still have some science to run, so we're going to continue flying at Mach 2 until that fills up. We're not pointed directly at our heading, but that's okay. We can take care of that after the science has been completed. Pop in the heading now. And like that, the experiment has depleted, so that's all the science we're going to get from that. But we are quite close to the KSC, as predicted, so we're going to go ahead and work on our descent down. And I quick save a couple times here because it's important to quick save in case something goes wrong. You can jump back to it and try again. And before landing, it's a good idea to quick save because you might mess up the landing. And I'm not playing with the extreme rules of no quick loads and anything like that. You know, if I kill my Kerbals, I'm going to do my best to not kill them. If it comes to the point where their deaths are inevitable, then we'll take it. Or if there's just if it's just undoable, we'll take it. But here is where I messed up. I quick saved right there. At this speed, at this altitude, I quick saved there. I quick saved plenty of times beforehand, but when I take off my autopilot, I was not ready to grab the joystick, and I was happy. I was like, oh, it's a good thing I quick saved, until I quick loaded and realized, oh, it takes a couple seconds for the jet to kick back on. So now I'm losing speed and going very fast over Mach 1 speed, pointed directly at the ground. Also, I don't have my autopilot pop-up window available, so I don't have autopilot within reach in any aspect, and I won't for the rest of this time. So this is adequately describing the faces of these pilots as we are going to desperately try to make an attempt to bring them home safely. Good luck. Doing a little better this time. I realized that going as quickly as I was only working against me. So using those air brakes, decided to slow down. That was pretty good. But I slowed down a little too much, and my nose pointed towards the water, and really wanted to go there. But I didn't slow down well enough that we just destroyed when we hit. So let's try that again. And again. Oh, lost too much speed too quickly. Can't really regain it. Kick my engines on, but I don't know how helpful. It's okay though, right? That building's not solid. It's just the decoration part of the map, right? And we are rapidly losing speed until we actually hit a safe landing speed. And you know what? I'll take it. We might not gain the confidence of landing on the runway, but both of our pilots and our craft will survive. And that's good enough for me. Our engine pops off, which is annoying because that part didn't even hit the water, but mission successful. So both of our pilots got their retirement date pushed back a little bit. Not by much, but I think this flight wasn't interesting enough for them, but soon enough we'll be getting them even higher and even faster than before. We're going to take a quick look at our research and development because we were able to get about 6 points. I don't remember how many points we got, but we have 6.5 now, so that's enough to look at all of the things that we can get. Crew survivability is too much, and that's with people. We're not ready for that yet. Early avionics and communications would be great, but we don't have enough points. The only thing we have enough points for are the solid rocket engines, and you know what? I just can't help myself. This is an SRB RP1 playthrough, and so we just got to get those SRBs. So in the next episode, we are going to be introducing the Dawnbreaker and its series, and I'm so excited for that, and I hope you are too. But anyways, that's where I'm going to leave today's episode. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you're looking forward for more RP1. If you did, please consider giving me a like, drop me a comment, let me know your thoughts, and I will see you all in the next one. Take care.